There we go, rocking in sand. The end. Dune takes place in what's called the Imperium. The kingdom is technically like the known universe. It's just space. It's kind of famous because like it inspired everything that came after it. So it's kind of like a mix of fantasy and sci-fi. Sci-fi because it's in space, but really the way the world is organized, it's more like fantasy. So there's like an overall king over the land, and then there's like dukes and barons that rule over certain little areas. But because it's in space, what they rule over is whole planets. So the Imperium is governed by the Emperor, and under the Emperor there are the great houses. The main guy, the Emperor, he actually doesn't even appear in part one.
I'm like, I don't recognize him.
I know, you won't even
that guy.
You won't even see him.
Walking.
That's what's crazy, but he looms over the whole thing. And he's worried about his power, and so there's a certain leader in one of the great houses that's really rising in popularity, and he kind of feels like he's a threat. That would be Duke Leto Atreides. He leads House Atreides, obviously, and they rule over the planet Caladan. Revered leader, not only on Caladan, but in the wider Imperium. He's just really respected. So what does the Emperor do? He gives House Atreides a new planet to rule over. I put as well. That's actually a lie. He's just giving them a new planet.
So did he take away their old planet?
Yes, he's like having them switch. It's like giving them like, you're not going to rule over this land anymore. You're going to come rule over this land instead. It's looked at as a reward because the planet that they're giving to them and that it's already ruled over by somebody else. It's ruled over by the Baron Vladimir Harkonnen. He leads House Harkonnen, and they rule over Giedi Prime, which is their home planet, but then also Arrakis, otherwise known as Dune. The Arrakis has made the Harkonnens obscenely rich due to the fact that it has the universe's only source of a very valuable substance, which is called spice. However, the Harkonnens are unpopular rulers due to their cruelty and greed. They have always pilfered Arrakis for its resources and have been at war with the planet's native inhabitants. The native inhabitants of Arrakis are called the Fremen. They're very religious, very ritualistic. They're fierce warriors, kind of at one with the planet. They've developed a lot of practices and technology that allow them to survive in the desert, despite it being inhabited by giant worms. The Fremen worship the worms and refer to them as Shai-Hulud, or the Maker. The Fremen can be easily recognized by their blue eyes, which comes from their consumption of spice. They also believe in this messianic prophecy that a prophet from off-world will come and lead them to glory and paradise. They call this prophet the Lisan al-Gaib. There are many prophecies and signs that will indicate the coming of the Lisan al-Gaib. The Emperor is taking Arrakis away from the Harkonnens and giving it to the Atreides. But if the Emperor is afraid of Duke Leto's popularity, why reward him with the riches of Arrakis? Well, House Atreides wonders the same thing. Expect some sort of political plot, a trap of some kind, but have no idea to what degree. Still, they go along with it all because of the complications of refusing an imperial decree. You can't really refuse the Emperor. But also because they believe that despite that all, they can in fact succeed in ruling Arrakis. They're pretty confident. The Imperium is really vast. There's lots of groups of people in addition to the houses that are constantly trying to gain power, making moves of their own. But luckily, we only really need to worry about one for now. And that is the Bene Gesserit. This is an ancient school of mental and physical training that is established primarily for female students. Their powers are all scientific based, but so advanced that people call them witches. For instance, they can tell when people are lying and often serve as like different leaders of houses and stuff as truth sayers. Their most significant powers is known as the voice. They can pitch the tone in their voices in such a way that it instantly hypnotizes people. In an official capacity, the Bene Gesserit now train people to serve the Emperor and the Great Houses. But they have their own plans to seize power. They're playing the long game. They're crossing bloodlines over generations and centuries, essentially arranging marriages between powerful people and houses to yield powerful offspring. They believe one day this will result in the creation of a male Bene Gesserit whose mental powers can bridge space and time. They call this future person the Kwisatz Haderach. Why does this matter? Because Duke Leto, his concubine, Lady Jessica, is a student of the Bene Gesserit. Leto and Jessica have a son, Paul Atreides, whom Jessica has been secretly training in the way, or the abilities of the Bene Gesserit. Jessica believes she may be the mother to the Kwisatz Haderach. Atreides, technically kind of like our protagonists, Duncan Idaho, just like kind of like the sword master, is like the really revered. Gurney Halleck is the war master, some medical expertise. And Hawat is a mentat. He's just like another advisor. A mentat just means it's a person who is trained in logical thinking, essentially like a human computer.
Why don't they have computers?
That's getting too detailed. A long time ago in the history of Dune, there was a war with computers and everything, so they totally outlawed them. So you won't see any AI or robots or anything. It's so far in the future that we're like well past that. That was a bad idea. We're done with that. The House Harkonnen, kind of our antagonists, Count Beast Raban. He's technically the governor of Arrakis, like serving in the Baron's place, and he's nephew to the Baron. The Baron's really pulling all the strings, but he's just kind of like there. And then this guy, who's really no big deal, but it's just like the Baron's mentat, his little computing guy. And then these ones are kind of supporting the Emperor, kind of. So Reverend Mother, she's the leader of the Bene Gesserit. She's not only the head of the Bene Gesserit, but directly serves as the Emperor's truthsayer and advisor. Liet Kynes is assigned as the judge of the change. She lives on Arrakis or Dune. The judge of the change is the person assigned by the Imperium to oversee the exchange of Arrakis from the Harkonnens to the Atreides. So she's technically the person that's going to make sure that it all goes okay, even though everyone kind of knows that it's a little shady.
What makes the spice so valuable?
Ooh, that gets into more detail. Do we want it? Sure, I'll do it really briefly. The biggest thing is that it makes interstellar travel possible. That's how they figured it all out, because there's kind of like the Bene Gesserit, there's a class of people called the Guild Navigators. They're the people that you have to like go through if you want to do interstellar travel, because they use the spice, which is a really powerful, really speeds up the mind. So they can plot space travel like at light speed because they like are heavily dosed on spice.
And you actually see them in the movie.
Yeah, you see them in the background. These people walking, you won't see their faces. They've got these heads and they have this orange tank across their face. And the reason they have a tank across their face is because they're in a constant like pool of spice. Like they just are living in it. Enjoy and remember, fear is the mind